2 words. That's all it took. Be kind. She stamped it on everything she owned, and her own employees called it a lie.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar.
36 people who clocked in behind those cameras had a completely different account.
Everyone was told, from Rupert Murdoch, from Fox, to every studio, look, if you touch this thing, you will be out.
Jim Caviezel didn't walk into Joe Rogan's studio carrying a press release. He walked in carrying something that made network executives deeply uncomfortable. A first-hand look at a system that's been quietly managing Hollywood's darkest realities for decades. The kind of thing reporters know about but won't print. The kind of thing insiders whisper about at dinner and deny in the morning. People inside that world have sensed the wrongness for years. Not suspected it, sensed it. The way you sense a room has been cleaned up right before you arrived. Agents knew, studio heads knew, the people who schedule meetings and approve scripts and decide whose career gets momentum this quarter, they knew. Joe Rogan spent the better part of 20 years in conversation with people at the absolute top of entertainment. And what accumulated across those conversations wasn't gossip. It was a blueprint. A functioning, deliberate system designed to manage access, neutralize threats, and ensure that the people who matter most to it never face real consequences.
Everyone knew this?
Dude,
like, everyone knew.
Rogan described it clearly, and it's more disturbing the more precisely you understand it. Not because it's sensational, but because it's practical. The machine operates through silence, through mutual self-interest, and through the careful, methodical removal of anyone whose continued presence becomes a liability. Sometimes that's a career ending. Sometimes it's something that looks like an accident. Jim Caviezel gave that machine a human face when he sat down across from Rogan, and he wasn't doing it for publicity. Mel Gibson chose Jim personally to portray Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ. That film generated $612 million at the global box office, with no major studio support. After that, Jim had genuine Hollywood capital, the kind that opens rooms other people spend entire careers trying to access. Full credibility, a guaranteed trajectory. He made a different choice. Sound of Freedom, the documented story of Tim Ballard, a real federal agent who left his government career to pursue children being held inside trafficking networks. Filming took them to Colombia, and something happened on that production that Jim says permanently altered his understanding of what's actually happening in the world. People connected to real trafficking operations approached the crew on location. They were offering to sell children, not alleging, not theorizing. He witnessed it directly. Jim returned home with that weight and tried to turn it into a film people could see. Hollywood's response was organized and immediate. Blacklisted, publicly dismissed. The conspiracy label was applied and the industry moved on as though he didn't exist. The film came out regardless.
Everyone was told, from Rupert Murdoch, from Fox, to every studio, look, if you touch this thing, you will be out.
The people at the center of that system don't just passively allow certain stories to disappear. They make it happen. Actively, deliberately. And the people who push anyway pay a specific, calculated price designed to discourage everyone watching. Jim named it on Rogan's podcast, the 8-armed octopus. Take one arm off. One arrest, one public exposure, one convicted name in the headlines, and the creature barely notices. The other arms are already moving, already adapting. The whole structure was built to survive the removal of any single piece of it. No one person is the system. The system is the relationships, the silence, and the shared understanding that breaking it costs more than most people are willing to pay. It doesn't protect powerful people out of loyalty. It protects them because protecting them protects everyone adjacent to them simultaneously. That's not a conspiracy, that's just how self-interest operates at scale. Now set Ellen DeGeneres inside that picture and watch how cleanly she fits. She built a billion-dollar operation on a phrase a child could memorize. Be kind. It was her merchandise, her opening, her entire public identity for nearly 2 decades. You couldn't engage with her brand for 5 minutes without encountering it. And for years, it worked as impenetrable armor. She was daytime television's moral center, and questioning that felt almost absurd. Then 2020 arrived, and 36 former employees went to BuzzFeed with something different. Their accounts were specific.
Then we were told a few minutes later she'd passed away.
Warner Media launched an investigation. 3 executive producers, Ed Glavin, Kevin Lehman, and Jonathan Norman, were let go. The allegations covered inappropriate conduct, racial discrimination, and a workplace atmosphere built on fear that had reportedly persisted for years. Ellen acknowledged it publicly on air for the first time, but the acknowledgement didn't repair anything.
I am a work in progress, and if I've ever let someone down, if I've ever hurt their feelings, I am so sorry for that.
May 2022, 19 years, final episode, and then, 2 months after the cameras went dark, the story moved somewhere a workplace expose doesn't prepare you for. 2 people directly tied to Ellen died within 4 months of each other. Anne Heche. August 5, 2022. Ellen and Anne had a publicly documented relationship from 1997 to 2000. High profile enough that Anne said later it had actively damaged her standing in Hollywood. That's a significant thing for someone to say. Remember it. That August morning, Anne's car was recorded on surveillance camera moving at extreme speed through a Los Angeles residential neighborhood. It struck a house. The car burned. She was removed from the wreckage with severe burns and significant smoke inhalation. But it was a specific detail from footage captured inside the wreckage that embedded itself in people's minds and didn't leave. She appeared conscious, moving, attempting to sit upright, alert, and then, per the official timeline, within minutes of that footage, she was declared brain dead. August 11th. Removed from life support August 14th, after organ donation, ruled accidental. Her family spent 6 days in a specific kind of agony, watching her heart continue to beat while being officially told she was already gone. December 13th, 2022. Stephen Twitch Boss. Ellen's DJ, executive producer. The person whose energy and presence had become...
He's completely alive. He was trying to get away.
His grandfather spoke to the Daily Mail 2 days later. Then January 2025 arrived, and Allison came forward with new details. Details that dragged every unresolved question back to the surface. 2 deaths, 4 months apart, both officially closed. Both families left in the specific silence that follows when the official answer doesn't fully fit the shape of what happened. And then everything that had been building broke open at once. February 2026. The Department of Justice released 3.5 million pages of documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The largest single release in the entire history of that case. Ellen DeGeneres' name was in the documents. The reaction online was not measured. Every prior story, the workplace scandal, the deaths, the associations, was excavated simultaneously and reassembled into the most damaging possible configuration. But what the documents actually say is a separate matter from what spread, and that distinction is critical. Ellen's name appears in emails referencing a potential speaking engagement, in newsletter compilations, in a mention of a social gathering in St. Bart's. That is everything. No victim accounts, no flight records bearing her name, no criminal implication of any category. What happened in the hours after that release tells you something about where public trust in institutions currently sits. A fabricated website, subsequently confirmed as AI-generated, published an audio clip claiming Ellen had made confessions of deeply serious crimes within the Epstein files. That clip traveled at a velocity that's genuinely hard to quantify. It reached an enormous audience before a single fact-check had been published. When investigators examined the actual documents, they found the specific term referenced in the fake story appears 52 times across 3.5 million pages. Ellen is connected to none of those instances, 0. But the question Jim Caviezel would ask, and it's the correct question, isn't whether the fabricated audio was real. It's why so many people, across so many countries, were already positioned to believe it the instant it appeared. Because the groundwork was already there. The verified workplace investigation existed. 2 deaths remained unresolved in public memory. The name was in the files. Innocent in context, but present. And then the piece of the timeline that nobody has convincingly explained. October 2024, Ellen's Montecito estate sold. A reported $15 million property in England's Cotswolds purchased. She was physically out of the United States 3 full months before those documents became public record. Diddy had been federally arrested in September 2024. People with genuine industry knowledge were fully aware the Epstein releases were imminent. Ellen...
People are not crazy, they're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
Ellen and Weinstein had been photographed together across multiple industry events over the years. He was welcomed onto her show. She supported his work publicly.
Everyone knew this?
Dude,
Everyone knew.
Did you see
Everyone
his contract? It was in his contract. The way he had his contract set up was like they had a certain amount of money that he would have to pay.
Weinstein was later convicted of serious criminal offenses. He is currently serving 16 years in prison. Then there is João Teixeira de Faria, known to international audiences as John of God. Ellen brought him onto her platform and presented him to her viewers as a credible, legitimate spiritual healer. Oprah gave him the same introduction. Brazilian authorities arrested him in December 2018. By early 2019, he had been convicted on multiple serious counts. His cumulative sentence reportedly exceeded 400 years. 3 men, all with documented, public connections to Ellen, all featured on her show as welcomed guests or associates, all subsequently convicted of serious crimes. And in each case, Ellen's public response materialized only after the world had already absorbed the full story without her. That pattern is what separates this from unfortunate social proximity. Rogan had been describing this dynamic for years before any of it became public. He laid out how Weinstein allegedly had settlement budgets written into contracts. He explained how the people immediately surrounding these men, assistants, agents, executives...
One of those
Bunch of them that
things,
said yes.
Do you fault the girl for doing that? Like if a girl decides to Harvey Weinstein on her own free will.
Joe Rogan, we come here with a dream.
That calculation has never once failed the machine, not because people are uniquely cowardly, but because the cost of breaking it is immediate and total, while the cost of staying silent is abstract and deferred. The system understands human nature better than most people understand the system. And it specifically depends on the people with the largest platforms, the ones whose voices would actually move the needle, whose audiences number in the tens of millions, making the choice to stay quiet. Because if they don't, the noise becomes uncontrollable. Ellen had exactly that platform, for nearly 2 decades. And when the moment of convergence arrived, 3 convicted men from her inner circle, her name surfacing inside the most significant document release in the Epstein investigation, 2 deaths still sitting in public memory without satisfying explanations, she deployed that platform for none of it. She moved to England. The octopus framework Jim laid out on Rogan's podcast wasn't constructed around Ellen as a target, but the structure fits with a precision that's uncomfortable to look at directly. You remove 1 arm, 1 show canceled, 1 associate convicted and imprisoned, 1 name made radioactive, and the organism doesn't collapse. It reconfigures. The silence that holds it together isn't passive. It's maintained through active, ongoing choices made by people who understand exactly what speaking would trigger. What is fully confirmed requires no qualification. Warner Media's own investigation substantiated the workplace allegations, their conclusion, not speculation. Ellen's relocation to the UK is documented public record. Her on-air relationships and documented friendships with 3 separately convicted men exist in photographs, broadcast footage, and her own public statements. Her name's presence in the Epstein documents is verified, and verified as appearing in entirely non-criminal contexts. None of these facts are disputed. What remains genuinely unresolved is the part that won't stay quiet. Criminal involvement? Not established. Victim accounts that haven't entered the public record? Unknown. Any direct operational connection to the networks Jim described? Unconfirmed. Those answers may never arrive. Or they may be sitting inside documents that haven't been released yet. Because reportedly, the 3.5 million pages already public are not the end of what's coming. Jim Caviezel's decision to sit across from Rogan and speak plainly proved something the system would rather people not believe. Sound of Freedom was buried, mocked, and written off, and earned $251 million